Hi, welcome to the Ontario Federation of Trail Riders Tech Tip. Today, we're going to talk about helmets. My name's Rob. I'm with the board of directors with the OFTR, and we thought it would be a good idea this winter to talk to you a little bit about helmets, helmet fitting, and how to go about choosing a helmet for the upcoming riding season. As most of you know, there are many different types of helmets. It can be pretty tricky to find a helmet to choose from. There's lots of brands out there, and every year the technology seems to change. As far as gear is concerned, your helmet is going to be the most important piece of gear that you wear whenever you're riding and racing your dirt bike. With that in mind, we thought we would cover just a few things you should take into account when choosing your helmet. So one of the first things you're going to do is you're going to have to find a helmet that fits your head. Here we have the Leat 9.5 carbon helmet. This is my own personal helmet. It's a helmet that I really like. I've worn other manufacturer helmets. This is the one that I'm currently wearing right now. So one of the most important things that you're going to consider when you're buying a helmet is going to be the fit. You need to have a helmet that's going to fit, that's going to be comfortable, and that's going to be able to provide you with the type of protection you need from your dirt bike helmet. Many different manufacturers are going to have a different shape to the shell. They may even have different sizes of shell. They're going to be made out of different materials. They're going to have different venting systems. They're going to have different suspension systems and padding on the inside. So there's going to be a lot to take into account when looking for a helmet. One of the very first things you need to do, especially if you're buying online, is you're going to have to find the manufacturer sizing charts. On those manufacturer sizing charts, they're going to tell you and they're going to give you measurements you can take, mostly revolving around the circumference of your head. In order to take that measurement, you need to have a cloth measuring tape, or you can use a piece of string, but essentially you need to get the measurement all the way around the circumference of your head, basically forehead height all the way around. I'm not going to show you how to do that today, but that's going to be crucial if you're buying a helmet online, because you can then compare that to the charts that the manufacturers give you, and that'll tell you what size helmet you're going to order. Ideally, if you can, you want to get into a shop and speak with somebody about helmets, and you actually want to be able to try a few different manufacturers on. A Fox helmet might fit a little differently than a Leat helmet, even in the same size, so on and so forth. Now, many manufacturers have pretty good return policies, especially some online businesses. So as long as you get it home, you try it on. If it doesn't fit and you send it back without actually wearing it on the trails, you might be covered. But make sure that you're checking with the store or online website that you're buying it from to make sure that that's accurate before you order one, and you can no longer return it. So what we'll do now is we're actually going to try the helmet on. There's a couple of things to look for. One will be overall comfort. So the helmet has to be comfortable. It also needs to be snug, but it can't be too snug. You do not want it to apply pressure or to hurt in any way or to be uncomfortable. It should feel comfortable, snug, and it shouldn't move around that much. One thing to keep in mind when buying a helmet is that the foam will likely compress a little bit after you've worn it. So if you buy a helmet that is already a little bit too loose, likely it's only going to get more loose as you wear it out on the trail. Okay, so hopefully you can still hear me well enough. I'm just going to put my helmet on, and I'm going to show you just a couple of things to take into consideration when you're looking at a helmet. So your helmet should fit, and the top edge and the open area should leave enough room for the goggles of your choice, which is also something you have to take into account. Although I wouldn't recommend buying a helmet to fit goggles. I would recommend buying goggles to fit the helmet that you prefer. But you want to have a nice wide field of view, and the top of the helmet here should be above your eyebrows. You should have a nice open port here for a wide field of view, and the wider and the more open it is, the more options you will have from a set of goggles. Now, typically when you put a helmet on, whether it's a motocross helmet or even a normal motorcycle helmet, it should feel snug everywhere. So there shouldn't be any excess room anywhere in the padding all around here. And you should also be able to feel it applying just a slight pressure on your cheeks. Okay, so it should not be pushed up. Okay, so your cheeks are actually pushed out, but you should feel slight pressure on your cheeks right here. As well, you need to take into account the chin strap and how that feels, because different chin straps, there's different types. There's different ways to close them. There's different latches. That's all something to take into account. But again, there shouldn't be any binding, there shouldn't be any pinching, and you should be able to snug it up quite well up against the bottom of your neck and of your chin so that the helmet cannot be removed when the chin strap is done up. So I recommend, if you can, and you can go into a store and actually speak with somebody to get a helmet, try it on, make sure again you don't feel any weird pressure points, make sure it is nice and snug, and you should be able to move your helmet around. Okay, look in all directions and even give it a little bit of a shake, and there shouldn't be any unnecessary movement. So the helmet should not be able to move back and forth in an exaggerated motion while it's on your head. It should be, again, fit nicely, comfortable, but snug. Okay, so another few things to keep in mind with your helmet. Now, unfortunately, helmets can be pretty expensive. You know, as you move up in the different manufacturer models, you're gonna get a lighter helmet. It's gonna provide better protection. It's gonna have a better venting system, and it's gonna have a better suspension system on the inside, and I'll talk to that in a second. But when should you replace your helmet? Well, you should replace your helmet after any hard impacts. In all honesty, this is the most important piece of equipment you're gonna put on. If you have a hard impact that hits the head, even if the shell isn't broken, there could be structural damage to the inside of the helmet, to the suspension system that is cradling your head on the inside, and it could cause major issues in the future during another crash. So after a major crash, if there's head contact with the ground in any significant way, you should be looking to replace your helmet. General recommendations can range from anywhere 3 to 5 years. From personal experience, probably about every 5 years without a major crash, you're probably going to be looking to replace your helmet anyway. You have to remember the foam inside is going to continue to compress. Just regular bumps, you know, as you ride your dirt bike, potentially a rolling around in the gravel, likely after 5 years you're going to be replacing your helmet anyway. As far as safety standards are concerned, as long as your helmet is DOT rated and has a safety rating on it, you should be good to go. In North America, you should be fine if you're buying a helmet from a reputable dealer. It should meet the required safety standards to be sold in North America. There are other standards as well, European and UK standards, but again, the majority of the helmets will be DOT certified, and that should be good enough for any rider riding off-road, as well as your dual sport riders, if it is properly certified as such. So we spoke a little bit about the technology contained in a helmet. Really, you know, as far as construction is concerned, so this one is a carbon fiber helmet, so you're going to get maximum protection, and it is very, very lightweight. Helmets are going to be constructed out of a few different materials, but they should all meet the required safety standards. Really, what you get with a more expensive helmet potentially is a little bit lighter weight while maintaining the protection for your head. Now, the next most critical piece of technology that you'll find in a modern helmet will be the suspension system. There's a few different types of suspension systems. Your more inexpensive helmets are simply going to be foam. What you'll find in helmets as you go up in models for almost all of the manufacturers is the suspension system will be designed to combat rotational forces. One of the more popular ones will be the multi-directional impact protection system, or MIPS. That is a protection system that is in many different helmets, and that is made to protect against rotational forces inside the helmet. One of the better ways to explain it is your brain inside your head is also sits in cerebral fluid that allows your brain a little bit of its own suspension as it moves back and forth. So what you're getting in a helmet with a system like this is you're getting additional protection for those rotational movements in the event of a crash. Another way helmets are constructed to protect will be breakaway visors. So more expensive helmets will have clean breakaway visors, or visors that are held on magnetically, or they'll have special fasteners that are meant to break away, so that if you do land on the ground or you have a crash, the visor will break away and it won't force your head to move in a certain direction. It'll allow the helmet to continue rotating with your head without being impacted by that visor hanging off of it. So while a suspension system like MIPS isn't considered a requirement for safety, it is absolutely a good upgrade for a rider looking to maximize the protection for their head and buy the best helmet that they can find. This technology is starting to filter down into the lower lines of helmet. When you look at Fox, it's not only their V3 now that has MIPS, it's getting its way down into the V2 and V1 lineups, so it's becoming more accessible for the everyday rider. Now, other features you can look for in the helmet is a removable liner so that you can wash it. So this has a completely removable liner. And another feature that's nice to have, especially for racers or more hardcore riders, is quick release cheek pads. And what that allows you to do is remove via a pull the cheek pads on both sides of a rider who has went down in a crash where you may suspect that there could be some spinal injury or an injury to the neck or an injury to the head, and you don't want to over rotate or do anything to that person as they lay on the ground. So what you can do by pulling the quick release cheek pads out is make room to remove the helmet without having to tug, because again, this should be snug against your cheek, without having to put any undue force on the person's head. So again, from the OFTR, hopefully you found this video helpful. It's the winter, we're all getting ready and waiting patiently for spring. We're looking at new gear, and helmet should be at the top of your list to purchase, especially if you haven't purchased one in a while. I urge you to go into your local dealership or any of the sponsors for the OFTR that you can find on our website and see what they can do for you. See what type of technology is out there, see what type of brands are out there, what improvements have been made if you haven't bought a helmet in a while. There's lots of options, and buying gear is always fun. So I wish you luck in your helmet hunting adventures, and here's to a great 2023 out on the trails. From the OFTR for now, stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have more tech tips in the future, and we look forward to seeing you out there at the events this year with the OFTR and your local clubs.